grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worry on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. Can't you hear a pitter-pat? And that happy tune is your step. Life can be so sweet on the sunny, sunny, sunny side of the street.
Hi, welcome to another Sunny Side of the Street. I'm your host, Todd Gross, a clinical psychologist, director of Adams Street Associates. And for 20 years, we've been doing programs where we really try to highlight the positive side of human beings, individuals and organizations that do things to help other people. And we had a lot of great stories, and many of the shows have pointed out that one of the real big sources of enjoyment, bringing us the sunny side of the street in our hearts, is music. And within music, we've done many different shows, but we have not really done one on an amazing singer that has done so many things to bring joy to people all over the world with his wonderful voice and singing. So that's what today's show is going to be about. And it's also going to tell the story of issues of prejudice, ability to be determined, to overcome odds, trying to be as authentic as possible, and also finding creative ways to respond to adversity. And then another companion part of the story that we're going to include today is when you do lots of wonderful things for people and with your voice bring so much joy, peace, and love from your work, you develop lots of friends and lots of people that really appreciate who you are and get who you are. And so as you give, sometimes you get back by even giving in the first place, but you also sometimes get back when you hit hard times. And so we're going to have another guest also who in his own right has done some amazing things in his life. And we're going to talk about the support of different families and also the support of a person that did a GoFundMe to help out when medical and financial problems hit, which we all have at certain points. So that's sort of the outline of what we're going to be doing. And now I want to introduce these two wonderful guests that we're going to be talking with. First of all, I wanted to introduce a name that you may, when you hear it, say, I think I know who that is, and you're going to be right. This person's name is Francois Clemmons, and we could call him Doctor or we could call him Francois, either way. But he has been amazing, an amazing person. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit by way of introduction. He received his Bachelor of Music degree from Oberlin College and a Master of Fine Arts from Carnegie Mellon University. He also received an honorary Doctor of Arts degree from Middlebury College. Then he won a Grammy Award for a recording of Porgy and Bess, Sporting Life, and founded and directed the Harlem Spiritual Ensemble. And then from 1997 until his retirement in 2013, he was the Alexander Twilight Artist in Residence of the Martin Luther King Spiritual Choir at Middlebury College in Vermont. He is famous, now here's where you find out if you were right, he is famous for his role on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood TV show as Officer Clemmons, which brought a lot of joy to many people and helped lots of children really get support and understanding of their feelings and respect for who they are as people. And I want to really plug something right now. His memoir, Officer Clemmons, is an excellent description of his life challenges and successes, both professionally and personally, despite much adversity. And I will show you the cover of the book so you can get it. And I cannot recommend it more highly. It's, as I told him, his book is one that has really moved me, hard to put down, and an incredible journey. And if you'll notice the picture, there is a very important story to this picture that hopefully we will get at during the hour today. But there is Officer Clemmons with Mr. Rogers in a wading pool. And I also want to first welcome you, Francois. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's great to have you. And secondly, I also want to welcome Chuck Dickinson. And Chuck is a person that I know really well and respect an awful lot. What I want to say about Chuck is that he's well known in many towns, including Watertown for sure, for his amazing work supporting refugees, his participation in many working group and events in Watertown. He met Dr. Clemmons at Oberlin College and has been a lifelong friend of his. He orchestrated a very successful, which you'll hear about, GoFundMe drive to be of assistance to Dr. Clemmons. And he works tirelessly for so many humanitarian causes in the community. He organized the Martin Luther King Community Breakfast for many years. And what I would say about my Chuck over there is that when something needs to be done to help anyone of any age, Chuck is there. And that's why I love him. He's a great guy. And I appreciate that he came on the show as part of our story. So those are the two guests. Welcome, Chuck. Glad to have you here. All right. So to get us started, I want to start by asking Francois a question. Your book talks a lot about growing up and all the different events of your amazing life and the people you met. But I want to ask you to say a little bit about yourself as a child, whatever you think would be interesting to highlight, and also to include how you got interested in singing, and lastly, how you and Chuck met and became lifelong friends. Those aspects. You can say anything you want, but I wanted to get you started with those ideas.
Okay, well, my childhood started out in Birmingham, Alabama, where I was born. And my family soon moved to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, not far. And my parents didn't get along too well. The house was a romper room of madness and physical violence. So when I was 4 years old, my parents separated. My mother took me to Youngstown, Ohio, with my other brothers and sisters. So I really grew up from the time I was 5 years old till I went away to Oberlin, Youngstown, Ohio. It was always a very mixed bag that I had all these Southern relatives around me, but I'm living in the Midwest. And, so I managed to get voice lessons in high school. And I knew right away from the feedback that I was getting, people liked my singing and they encouraged me to continue. So that was the way I discovered I could make friends, get to know people. I transpire difficulties and write past some of them simply because I could sing.
So music was a vehicle.
Yes, it was. It opened doors, many doors, because there were doors of racism in Youngstown that I could not open otherwise. So then after Youngstown, I went to Oberlin. The Oberlin Alumni Club gave me a full ride. Interesting challenge. I met Chuck on campus there, Oberlin. And right off, his life was very interesting to me. He's active in different political things or talking to interesting people. And I was in the Oberlin College choir. It was like the super football team. The first year, we went to Russia for the months of March and April. Well, that was an incredibly important experience. But when I came back to Middlebury, I felt lost. I've been away. This is my freshman year. Barely had time to get my feet on the ground when they whisked us off from the State Department to Russia. And we went to some 25, 30 cities, including Kiev and the capital, Moscow, and then up to Leningrad.
Yeah. It
was a thorough tour. But that wonderful tour taught me that singing American Negro spirituals had a tremendously positive. I never expected playing or exception. So then when I came back, I was a kind of introvert, not a real introvert, but introvert because of circumstances. The fact that I found college very, very confusing. A lot of people to get used to quickly.
Yes.
So I went to summer school that summer, and then when I came back to Oberlin in the fall, I picked up my friendship, Seth Dickinson. He seemed to have a real leadership quality with my friends that he knew what was going on, or he knew how to find out going on. He knew how to ask the right questions. I became very, very aware of that because I was so-called in the conservatory of music. He was in the college. It was really not a whole lot different. We lived together, ate together, went to the same basketball, swimming team meets, all that kind of stuff. It was always one college. So I got to meet several other friends through my friendship. One of them was Carl Brown, who was he's like the head waiter in the dormitory where we ate. And the other was Nat Carpenter, who was Chuck's roommate. We got to meet him. And then we had many other friends, but in particular, Ted Raphael and his wife, personally his wife, Molly. We were all there together. And after I left Oberlin, I went to Pittsburgh for graduate school. I had wanted to go to New York right away, audition brothers and Broadway shows or whatever. And my voice teacher and several other people who were very wise suggested that I take another year
Yeah.
New York.
They thought you weren't ready yet, that you needed
Yes. So they convinced me. I got a scholarship to Carnegie Mellon. And I was the only graduate tenor. I think I was the only tenor in the whole music school.
Yeah.
And I just reveled on that because I got to do Benjamin Britten, Mozart, Mendelssohn, all kinds of choral works, but I was always the tenor soloist. So it was demanding, challenging.
Yeah.
So much new music, but I did it and I loved it. And in that process, I did a Friday, Good Friday service at Third Presbyterian Church where Fred was a member.
Oh, Fred Rogers, yes.
Fred Rogers was a member. And when it was over, almost everybody came up to say how much they enjoyed it, how deeply moved they were. The most wonderful way. And then they said, we'd like for you to meet this man over here. He's been waiting patiently. I thought, well, come on over here and say hello. It turns out to be a real introvert. So he was very quiet, very subdued, very modest.
Yeah.
And very sincere. That's a word that I tune into pretty quickly. If someone is sincere or insincere, registers with me immediately. So he invited me ultimately to come and be on the television program because he had heard Good Friday concert. And that Good Friday concert moved him to tears. I got the idea from, I'll try to be brief, but at Christmas time, they do lessons and carols.
Yes.
And I said to people around me, how come there's no comparable lessons and carols for Easter time? Well, nobody had an answer. Okay, I'm going to put together this program of spirituals which talk about the life of Christ, particularly the Passion. And I included songs like Mary Had a Baby, Mary had a baby, my Lord. Mary had a baby, my Lord. I sang that, and then I sang, sweet little Jesus boy, one long time ago. Little holy child, and we didn't know who you were. So I sang some of those songs, and I got to Were You There? And they crucified my Lord. And he never said a mumbling word. There are the different spirituals and then in between those spirituals, the minister of the church had passages from the Bible that he and I talked about. We had a meeting, and I felt woefully inadequate, but between the two of us, we came up with spirituals were also, I mean, we came up with passages from the Bible. So we had a practice session where I sang, he read, I sang, he read. Well,
Yes.
we were all, I'm not kidding, everybody was very moved by this experience. And I thought, well, I've started something new. And I got several jobs, I must admit, a lot of them through Fred Rogers. Concerning this lessons and carols that I was doing on Good Friday. And he invited me to be on the program. I had never been on television before. It was a whole new world. And I treated the intimacy of the studio as though it were a stage of Carnegie Hall. Well, I soon had to learn how to bring my resources in, you know, in a very intimate, loving way. And Fred and crew who were very, very patient with me. I'll be very brief, but soon while I was there, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. It was like thunder hit me, fired up inside of me. Couldn't control my sense of loss, anger, defeated. Everything negative came raining down on me. And Fred grabbed me and took me to his house. And I stayed there about a month, a little more. And during that time, he talked about what Dr. King meant to Black people, and in my opinion, should mean to the whole nation. And I learned a lot. First of all, I was wonderfully touched that Fred knew so much about Dr. King, and he had several books. And we used to sit there and read certain passages together. And this is part of my indoctrination or whatever, my learning that I was in a family situation that was very peaceful, loving, living. Now that I watched his behavior with his children, his wife, and with me. So I became a member of the family. I considered him surrogate father. And from then on, it was a life together, but it wasn't always easy. I was struggling with my homosexuality. I tried to treat myself as a gay man. And I was just beginning to get a handle on, because you could meet other gay people in Pittsburgh. It's a big city compared to Oberlin. And I went to a gay bar. I went to that gay bar just basically to dance and be with my very, very close friend, James Green. Well, as it turns out, somebody told Fred Rogers that I had been at that club called Playpen. And evidently, the picture they painted was not what I thought. So they said, I want to talk to you, Francois. You're getting a lot of notoriety, popularity being at this gay club. And I don't think you should continue, because I don't think the people who support Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, which is like Procter and Gamble and Heinz and Hershey, those kinds of industries, particular to Pennsylvania. He said, I don't think that they would support.
That must have been really tough to hear that from him.
Another one of those things that, you know, the shock.
Yes.
Told what to do. I was a grown man, and I knew what I wanted, what I didn't want, and I've always wanted to make my own decisions. I don't like people telling me what to do. So I didn't like that. I thought, he's a man who is technically in Pittsburgh, very powerful. He's very well loved, very well thought of. He was trying to tell me something that I did not want to do. He was the star, the writer, the producer, everything, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Right. And in my opinion, he had the power to help me start my solo singing career. I wound up saying yes, and that he wanted me to help him develop the role of Officer Clemmons. I didn't want to do it. He also signed all the checks.
And then I want to ask Chuck a question too.
Okay. Well, to make a long story short, I decided to not go to the gay bars. In fact, I decided not to really come out as a gay person for at least 10 years, I stayed in what they called in the closet. My very, very closest friends knew. I had some musical friends who knew that I was gay, but the general public never expressed myself. I never allowed myself to be in compromising positions that would be different than what Fred Rogers expected of me. Consequently, I was miserable in my private life. I can't tell you, really, I can't.
Yes.
What?
It makes sense that you had to stifle a big
Yes,
part of who you were.
yes, a very important part, not the
Yes.
whole me, but a very important part of
Yes.
love and receiving. And I didn't have any dates and stuff during that. I went to clubs occasionally, quietly, in
Yeah.
Chicago or Los Angeles, San Francisco, but I kept a very, very low profile. And the truth about all that carrying on was that was not the real me.
I have a question for you about that. Do you
Yes.
think that if it had been a different time, like close to now, in today's world, as opposed to Mr. Rogers' world at that point, do you think he might have grown and been able to say, you know, it's important for you to be who you are, just like he always said to the children, I like you just the way you are.
The way you are, yes. It was a tough time trying to absorb that very important message that he gave.
Yes.
Time he didn't love me the way I am in terms of being able to express myself.
Right.
So, having this conflict, and it was a very serious conflict for me. As a boy growing up, I had very serious money. I'm qualified as poor. Part of the house I was in Alabama was a dirt floor in the house. So you understand what I'm saying. And outhouses and wood stoves. It was the basics. So here I was in Pittsburgh after Oberlin. And I met a man who really meant very much to him. He had everything he wanted. If I came to him with a financial problem, he resolved it right away. I mean, it was a very, very interesting for me to think that people live that way all the time.
Yeah.
Their house and the clothes they wore.
Yep.
They're taking vacations and holidays that I had not done. So it was one of the expensive things with Chuck is he invited me to Chicago during a time when I felt like I had no place to go. And my going to Chicago with him, I think, cemented my personal relationship. We became even more real friends. We talked to each other about real issues. I was able to share some of the incredible difficulties that I
Let
was
me take something what you just said about the friendship thing, and I want to bring in for a second Chuck to say a little bit about your memories of how you met Francois and how you guys became very important friends and what that importance of the relationship was like for you too. And then we'll continue on with where we're going with Francois. I like what he's saying too.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you. I just want to reiterate, Francois, when I went to Oberlin, you know, Oberlin was part of my tradition, my family tradition. My dad went there, my grandfather went there, and I came as a Midwestern guy, a Western guy, kid, you know, who had been part of, you know, relatively middle class, upper middle class educated society. I met Francois, and I always remember the first time I ever saw him, it was in one of these freshman orientation sessions where everybody was together, and this skinny black guy over in the corner stood up and everybody was kind of introducing themselves or doing something, and he sang Moon River. And it made a huge impression on me because, first of all, he was African American. He was black, which made him different. And second of all, this voice was just incredible. And I still even remember how it just kind of the clearness and the articulation and the melody and just he had a persona. He had sort of a presence already that came through primarily at that time through his voice. I didn't know him at all. But then we came to know each other over the years because we were in proximity and housing and all the rest. And so,
yeah.
And I would say that Francois really opened my eyes up about the world in two important ways. First of all, his being African American and the root and the experiences he had as growing up as a kid in his family. And I had no idea what the circumstances were. And when he came to our home at Christmas time one year, he was able to point out to me, he says, and I'll never forget, he said to me, "You have no idea." He didn't use the word privilege. That's the word we use nowadays. I
Yeah.
forget exactly how he put it, but he says, "You have no idea what you have in your life. Your mother and your father and this and that and all the rest." And he started
those
putting all the
lessons.
things out, which I just was taking for granted.
Yeah.
And that made me realize that, in today's language, it made me begin to realize as a sophomore in college, wow, I really do. Not everybody lives like this. I have some real privilege. So that's one. Well, then the other one is I never really knew anybody who was gay before. And I remember him, talking about somebody. And I said, well, wait a second. Hold on. Let me get this straight. You want to kiss a guy? And he said, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah." He says, "I want to kiss you." I said, "Well, wait a second here now." So,
Yep.
so anyway, that was the beginning, and we became good friends. He introduced me to, the Motown sound, Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Oh,
I
wow.
remember in his room, he taught me a few steps that I used for 20 years thereafter on the dance floor. Because he was a nimble, fabulous dancer in his
I
day.
remember
He
the
still is.
dancing,
He
yeah.
still is. When he gets up and does This Little Light of Mine and he gets it into the syncopated beat, he can make that body move so subtly, but boy, he is dancing and you're right there dancing with him. So
So good.
I got a little bit of that from him. And so in those two ways, he made a big difference. And we then, it just kept up over the decades. And here we are 60 years out, or practically.
Oh, great.
Let me interrupt
Thank you.
just
Yeah,
1
go ahead.
minute, because Chuck was an athlete, and I like sports very much. I like sports as much as I like singing and the arts and writing. So the fact that he played basketball is another reason I was attracted to him. He was in good shape. He was on the varsity team. Played with real energy, I mean, real, almost frenzy sometimes. I respected that. I liked it. So I came to all
Yes.
the games, and he introduced me to the other basketball players. Ultimately, I met swimmers, and I met Ted Raphael, one of the ice hockey players. And Nat Carpenter was a baseball pitcher. I was meeting all these athletes, jocks, I called them. I was pretty happy in their company. I was very comfortable.
It's really interesting how you each recognize the gifts of each other and also learned from each other and expanded yourselves from just knowing each other. That's actually a really nice story, both of you said.
It's true. He was a very, also a very empathetic person. And that's why I was able to talk with him in a way that I didn't have the courage or the brashness to discuss with some of my other classmates. A very intimate thing that I was experiencing. He was willing to lay this out on the table and try to figure out what was going on. And
I think you're emphasizing something very important too, which is the idea of safety and trust. When you can do that with somebody, and you each had that with each other, that's another blessing that's hard to even put into words how important that is.
I agree. And so we continued to see each other. His mother, Dorothy, doted on me. She adored me. Loved my singing. And when I was around her, she always knew how to keep me busy. She would
really
ask me to help her if she was cooking or whatever. And so I quickly became a mother's son. Dorothy represented that maternal thing that my mother was not able to give to me. Even closer, when Chuck's father was an introvert. On the other hand, he had this incredible quiet strength. Regardless of what was going on around him, he was not going to fall apart. That I found very attractive also, because it's like I could reside under the wings of a very strong man who was not going to be abusive. Right?
Yes.
And in Youngstown is that older men, daddies in particular, were abusive. They were abusive in ways that last a whole lifetime. you're
Yes.
trying to be forgiving and loving and letting the pain go, that every now and then rears its ugly head. Well, that was a package for me as a friend. He also had two younger brothers. I began to feel brotherly towards them also. He never made me feel bad or strange or unusual. Occasionally, they might ask me a question that had to do with race, but I never felt they were pushing me away. Or what are you doing here? Or why are you here? And I remember once I did a tour for Fred Rogers. Time I had moved to New York City. We were concerned about the fact that Mr. Rogers' neighborhood was not doing very well in the Black community. It was doing very well in white university communities. And the problem basically was the people who started educational television basically started them on the university campuses or nearby for access and all of that. Many times the college or university sponsored the television PBS station. So if you were living in the ghetto, sometimes you weren't living too close to access these public television stations. So Black people had to have also, it was like VHS and UHS. And the educational television was on the UHS, made it less acceptable, available Black community. So I suggested to Fred take a tour to help him out and go to Black cities like Memphis, Nashville, Atlanta, and meet with the local people and sing and tell them about Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Did you notice any change in him as he was going on those tours and really learning about maybe some of the communities that hadn't been really, represented very much on the show?
You're asking Chuck or me?
I'm asking you if
I noticed any difference.
Tour had an effect on Mr. Rogers, yeah.
Yes. Well, first of all, he was shocked at how much communication I did. I have to tell you, one of the nuances was I took 300 or 400 postcards. And as I went around America to those Black cities, I would ask the woman who might be in charge of the daycare center or the preacher, because I sang in churches everywhere. And I would say, would you just drop Mr. Rogers a note and tell him, share with him, especially it was for us to be together today. And those postcards began men to friend. And he calls me and said, what's going on out there? What are you doing? And that was his stamp of absolute approval. I could do programs.
Fred Rogers was not on this tour. Francois was doing it himself as an emissary from Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I was on the tours by myself. I did 3 of them for him. And they helped me a lot because I love to travel. I've got the travel bug. I've always had it.
There's one story in your memoir that I remember that really struck me when there was some conductor was very rude to you, and Mr. Rogers was there, and he stood up for you, which is a very important concept. Will white people stand up when there's a really cruel, prejudicial kind of treatment going on?
Yes, ordinarily I had felt alone when a white person had said something very nasty to me or used the N-word.
Yes.
I would withdraw and I would want to run away. But when I had that experience in Cincinnati with that young conductor, I was also ready to leave the theater, go back to the airport.
Yes.
And Fred Rogers intercepted me and said, no, take your coat off. Come on. We're going to go back in there and talk with that conductor. The things that I remember most is Fred made me feel I was protected. My daddy was going to take care of me.
Yes.
I never felt that in Youngstown, but he was daddy. He wasn't just Mr. Rogers. The thing that also touched me very deeply was watching him as much as myself. Very, very stern tones. This conductor. It was not just, it was what he said. This is Francois Clemmons. He is a member of our family. We love him, and we don't talk to him that way. And if what he said is true, you owe him an apology. In my opinion, no white person had ever apologized to me. So I thought, oh, that's the end of it. That guy's not going to back down on what he said. And instead, he practically fell on his knees, groveling Mr. Rogers at how sorry he was, how mistaken he was. He genuinely sorry that he had spoken to me. Very, very nasty. Can't tell you how nasty it was. And so when he apologized, I thought, well, I still want to leave to go to the airport. I said, Francois, you must shake his hand and tell him that you accept his apology. Oh my God. I'm telling you, I didn't want to say any of that stuff, but I did. And I mouthed it so that what I learned from Fred is I wanted to do something and do it right. I could do it on the surface and keep doing it until it became a deep part of me. I accept your apology.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't mean to hurt me
Really
that
mean
way.
it. You're saying
Yes.
from inside. Yeah.
Yep. I had to learn that with several of my close buddies who were either from the South or they were like Fred. They grew up in white communities where there were no blacks or very few black people. And,
Well, I think one of the things you're doing for our viewers is you're really answering a question they probably ask you a lot when you toured around. What is Fred Rogers really like? Because those are really telltale moments, and you see where he really stood and what was in his heart, you know?
Well, I talked to him a lot. I mean, I can't tell you. I would go to Pittsburgh a day early or 2 days early to film Mr. Rogers. And during that time, I would go to be with him. And when I was going to be with him, he and I was in the Pittsburgh Theological Seminary. So we would discuss biblical characters. I was very interested in that. Because I, too, had done a lot of reading of the Bible and studying and all that, because I wanted God to forgive me, for God to take the homosexuality out of me. I was able to say that to him. He was very, very, very gentle, telling me, well, Franz, maybe that's who you really are. He was one of the ones who said that to me, who made me feel, what? It's possible. And it was such a contrast. There he was telling me, I love you, you are, I'll take care of you. And the other side was saying, you can't be your real self, you have to be something different.
Yes.
I struggled with that. But there came a time when Dr. King was assassinated that I really felt despair. I turned to him and I said, what can you do? You've got to help. And he said, let me think about it, Franz. Give me a little time. I was impatient, but he was not. And he said, I'm going to send you a script. So he sent a script to me and I read it and I thought, well, this is nothing. What does he expect me to do or to feel in this circumstance? Well, that was another instance of Fred helping me to just be who I am. Because when I got to Pittsburgh, when we did the first rehearsal, wasn't much. Something inside of me began to change. When I actually sat down, went into his house and he told me to come and put my feet in the water with him. I was already moving away from old angry attitude. Yeah, that's it. And I was feeling blessed. I was feeling love. I was also feeling that I was loved again. This is very important to me.
Yes.
People that I feel love me. And I did not have that as a boy growing up. So the more Fred wanted me to do stuff, I tried to find a way of accommodating it, because there seemed to be a good outcome.
Yes.
Without being pushed out there and hurt or cast away.
Yes. One of the things also that you mentioned in the memoir that's interesting is that your role on the show was Officer Clemmons. You were a policeman, And you had to deal, another one of the many things you worked on really well, I think, was we know how some officers have treated the Black community. And so you would have fear and you would have some distrust, and yet you were portraying an officer to children. And that, I just wondered if you could comment on what that was like for you.
Oh, I didn't want to do it. And I
Uh-huh.
told him I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But as I said, Fred was the producer, the star, the script writer, and the everything, the director. I knew that he had power. Thinking, well, what choice do I have in my life now to follow this man and listen to what he's trying to tell me, or reject him and go off on my own? So when we did that scene the first time, I felt this enormous warmth carrying. I was having some problems in the real world. Officer Clemmons was totally accepted. Neighborhood of reality and
yes, one of the people in the community.
Everywhere, that's right. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this role as Officer Clemmons. I come home, I leave all that uniform and everything at the studio, and then I can be myself at home. It's very schizophrenic in a way of characterizing it. I lived one way with Fred and another way when I was able to get away in New York and all that, until the time when I finally came out. But what I've heard from so many people about that scene, it's something that I didn't realize for a long time what I had done. By that I mean I participated, I was there physically, but I was not mature enough to understand what this man was trying to say. And he was giving me what he called unconditional love. That's why I began to get the beginnings of it and change as a person, not on the inside as well as on the outside. He was a very, very loving, gentle man. But he spoke his mind, told you what he felt. And believe it or not, that's what made me start speaking my mind. I gave it right back.
He was a good model.
Yes, he was a good model. So I realized that something happened when Fred told me, "Oh, you should see the fan mail that we're getting at WQED in Pittsburgh."
Oh, that's so new. That's great.
Yeah,
it was amazing. It was a real breakthrough.
Yes. You know, in our country, there were a lot of white people who did not want Black people in their swimming pool.
There were white water fountains and black water fountains,
yes,
I know, in the South, too.
Yes, all of that. And so he said, let's do this scene and put our feet in the water together. Well, what? It was a very intimate thing that was beginning to happen that I didn't know if I was up for it. Oh, I took off my boots, my socks, and I put my feet in the same water. Yeah.
It was a great metaphor too.
Yes.
Really great metaphor. And you point out the love that was in it coming to you
in the water, in the experience. And people talk about that and talk about in their families if they had any vestiges of racism. And they saw that video, that scene where Mr. Rogers was welcoming me. The racism went away. Yes. Automatically didn't say, okay, we're not like that. We're going to be like Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers loves Officer Clemmons. And then the other part was, people have asked me, what's the symbolism which you just referenced?
Yeah.
Was Jesus washing the feet of his disciples. And having that Last Supper in the upper room and all that stuff. I began to realize that Fred was making a very obvious comparison. It took me a while to realize. I was so humble. Please forgive me for patting myself on my back, but I was so humble. I couldn't imagine playing the role of Peter. And the fact that Fred, by some people's standards, was a Christ figure. So his wanting to help me first put my feet in the water and then to dry my feet with his towel. I can't tell you, even now that I feel certain kind of nervous energy just talking about it.
Yeah.
Black man, no white man ever let me dry my feet on his towel. Come on, people. Be real here. I was in a
Mm,
lot of agony
yeah.
and he insisted on helping me dry my feet. And
This is
then,
beautiful. I know we have about 10 minutes left. I want to fill in a little piece with Chuck about the GoFundMe to give you a chance to tell a little bit of, you know, the reasons and importance of the GoFundMe campaign for Francois and what helped it succeed. And also, how can people contribute if they still want to, too? Because this was another beautiful piece of love that you've given love, Francois, and you've received it. And this is more from Chuck, too. So I wanted you to have a chance to say just a little bit about that. And if we can sneak in one song, we're going to try to do that in the next couple of minutes. Yeah.
Chuck sat in the director's chair. He was one of the driving forces of creativity. He seemed to understand or have a handle. He could get a handle on what needed to be done better than anyone else, certainly better than me. I was being used in a wonderful, wonderful way.
That's cool. Chuck,
Yes.
tell us about that a little, what you did.
Well, I guess the context is that over the years, Francois, through various reasons, were beyond his control, experienced some financial difficulties. And like the rest of us, maybe he made some decisions that afterwards you think, well, I'm not sure that was the right thing, but the best thing. But anyway, it was what it was. And so he was in some serious financial difficulties. And so not just the Oberon folks, but he's got a whole crowd, a whole network of, or not network, but set of friends in Middlebury, in the community and the college. And so we brought these folks together. And Francois also was a mentor to so many of the Middlebury students, which he could go on and on about, and he called them his cosmic children, or if he's using his cosmic children. So we reached out to all these different people and said, we want to do something to help Francois. Francois has been so important in our life. He's facing some serious health situations and financial circumstances that are going to make it difficult going forward. So we want to help him. So we didn't know anything about how to do this, but we knew that there was a thing called GoFundMe, and we investigated it. And so we put together a GoFundMe campaign, and we created the site. And I don't know if I can actually share the screen. Can I share the screen? I'm going to try it and see what happens. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is the site, and as you can see, here's this picture that we've just been talking about, which is on the cover of his book. And you can see up here in the corner, we raised $111,487
amazing
over the course of the last 8 months or so. And it's a wonderful. I encourage people to go to it. You just go to the GoFundMe.com site, and you put in Officer Clemmons, and you'll find it immediately. And there's a lot of wonderful links here about his career and his life, and about him singing and so forth. So anyway, that is the site, GoFundMe.com, and what you do is you search on Officer Clemmons. But I think the importance of this was for us to realize that we all have our challenges, and we all have our ways of responding to challenges. And sometimes we have to be able to be willing to accept help. And I think that was a courageous thing, not a thing, but it's something important and courageous about Francois. Francois had to make some tough choices, and he had to be willing to accept help. My wife is in recovery for 35 years from alcoholism, and she talks about how in the recovery movement, the ability to accept help, ask for and accept help is so important. And so Francois was able to, accept our help, and we were able to get out, and because of who he is and the personality he is, we were able to really, tap into a lot of goodwill, and people stepped up. And then we got
forgive me for interrupting, Chuck. Yeah. He's able to tell you a technical aspect, but there was another thing going on, and I know he knows I'm telling him the truth. He felt love. We
I don't
got
know
that.
what you said, Francois. You cut out. I didn't
Can
hear
you
you.
repeat that again?
I said I felt the love of God
Ah,
that so many people around America, around the world, whom I did not know, were saying, yes, you're worthy. We want to see you be successful. We want to be a part of this. Chuck was the who received those direct money.
if there was ever looking at the two of you together and telling this story, what the sunny side of the street means to me and why we do this show, that couldn't be a better example. And I would like to give you a couple minutes. I know I wish there was more. We have about 5. Can you sing a little something? Because your voice is still awesome. I would love to hear a little, and we'll go, and then we'll close the show.
In Gilead, make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin soul. Sometimes I feel discouraged and I think my work in vain. Then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead, make the wounded whole. Yeah, there is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin. Oh,
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Officer Clemmons, Dr. Clemmons, and Francois, all those in one. And thank you, Chuck. Again, I want to mention to people that this is really worth reading. It's a story for all of us to learn from, and the relationship between the two of you that you talked about, and the Fred Rogers. And in the book also, we didn't have time to talk about, but there was some certain families that took you in at amazing times in your life, and you just felt that love and support at a time when you really needed it. And also for people out there that have suffered childhood trauma, violence, things like that, you're looking at a man who took an experience like that and used his creativity and a lot of strength and a lot of support to make a life that impacted people in so many positive ways. And below him on the screen here, you're looking at somebody who's also still out there doing an awful lot to impact many people's lives in the ways his talents allow to happen. So I feel very blessed to have had this. I've been looking forward to interviewing you guys ever since we got the idea. And I want to thank you both for being on the show. And I also want to thank our audience for watching. And I hope you'll join us soon again on another sunny side of the street. So take care, everybody, and think about the lesson that these two men are giving us, and also read that book. It's amazing. Thanks again.
thank you very
Take
much.
care,
It was a real
everybody.
pleasure.